And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey everybody, I'm Tom Vasel, and today we're taking a look at the first expansion for Destinies, and that's Destinies Sea of Sand with a giant genie in the background. Whoa. So Destinies is a kind of choose-your-own-adventure. You know what? We did a four-way review of this game here with the four squares. Really enjoy this game a lot. So this is an expansion that adds 3 new scenarios. They're on the app, but you need the pieces from this one to play with them. It adds a bunch of new item cards, a lot more maps, and it takes us out to the Arabian desert here. So let's take a brief look at what's in the game, and then I'll talk about my feelings on this expansion. There's not a lot I can show you here. This one is in the app. You would click on Sea of Sand and then pick one of the 3 different scenarios to play through here as you go through it. The Siege of Mahdia, the City of Secrets, and the Fate of the Sahara. You don't have to play them in order, but they are part of a campaign and they follow a story. They're going to use obviously a desert background here with different tiles showing the desert. But one of the main things that this one does that's different than the other ones, and it doesn't do it initially at first, is it's possible to have areas that are away from each other on the board. And you have to figure out, there will sometimes be a way to travel from one spot to another. So the map can be split up. And there's even a bunch of new items in this one, but a camel can go anywhere. It's a regular move, can move to any unexplored tile. So there's a lot of cool new items, and they're just numbered here. You see this is 102. So just go right after the original items, and in fact, you're going to have original items that you're going to be finding as you go through this set. There's more miniatures, which are just going to get lost in the shuffle because I can never tell any of these apart, except for obviously this gigantic genie, which is cool. New characters that will be used for the different scenarios, and you'll see what they do. And that's kind of it. Everything fits in this box, but I'm going to very much just put it in the regular Destinies box because without the insert, it's all easily going to fit into one box. Now, I love the base game of Destinies a lot, and I was even more excited because the one thing I was not a huge fan of Destinies was I felt like the medieval drudgery theme, I kind of wanted to do something more exotic and interesting. I mean, there certainly was fantastical elements to it, but it almost was like, okay, let's go see a new cool arena. Ah, the desert. Well, here's the thing. I want to start out by saying I really like this expansion, but it was a climbing-like of it. Because the very first scenario here, not really a spoiler, you are outside a city that's besieged, and in the Crusader times. And as you go through the entire scenario, you're like, oh, this feels like the first one. They're like, where's the desert? I mean, you're kind of in the desert, but where's all this Tales of Arabian Nights stuff? It's not really in that first scenario. In the second scenario, you're kind of gearing up, and you're like, oh, and the ending of the second scenario is really good, and I'll come back to that in a second, and I thought, oh, wow, really on the ball. And then the third scenario is everything I wanted from this. The third scenario was fantastic. I just wish they had made all 3 scenarios like the third one, with different areas to go to, and hidden temples, and dungeons, and woo. So that's cool. I just wish all 3 scenarios were as cool as that final one was. The final scenario is my favorite scenario of any of the scenarios so far, but it took a bit to get there. This game introduces one thing I really like, which is in the original game you go around and ask people for destinies. In this one there's tomes and things, and I thought the final act of this one here felt like there was more of a, if you just rushed to it without doing a lot of exploring, you kind of paid some penalties for that because you didn't know what to do. I thought that was great. And I thought that was a big deal. And also it was a really cool story that led up to that point. So there's also dungeons and things that are on the app only, like, oh, what direction do you go? Do you go left? Do you go right? Here's what you might find. I really enjoy that. I think they dealt with that a tiny bit in the first one, but there's more of them here. Although again, most of them are in the third scenario and a few in the second scenario of this. So if you like Destinies, you're going to like this. It's 3 more stories, bringing a total of 7 stories, hours. These felt longer than the first ones, by quite a bit, actually. I felt like these were at least half an hour to an hour longer than the first ones, but that just may be me. And like I said, it felt like it got really good, and now maybe they'll make more scenarios in the future that you can play with this set, and there's more sets coming, so we'll have to see how those go. But I still love this system. I still think the Destinies testing system is one of the best out there, and this is a cool thing to go out into the desert and see genies and rocks and things like that. Rocks, I mean ROC. Anyhow, until next time, I'm Tom Vasel, and you've been watching the Dice Tower. Dice Tower Judgment approved.